Welcome to a new type of content from the Commuters. We're actually going to be talking games. So we just watched the Xbox first Inside Xbox live stream revealing Xbox Series X gameplay, and it was something. It's pretty short. It had like 7 games or something, and most of them
sucked.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like not a very big, great showing. I guess this is like the beginning of their showings for the summer. We know that their July showing is going to be their big deal because that's where all the first party is. Let's just kind of go through each game. The first game that they showed,
Bright Memory Infinite. So yeah, Bright Memory Infinite was our start, and that was a strong start. Probably much stronger start than what we ended on.
Yeah,
it was really cool. There's not a lot to say about it yet because they just showed base gameplay, but base gameplay was cool. It was like a less traditional shooter. It had wall running. It had pretty much what you would expect. But then they pulled out a grappling hook, and then things got super interesting, and I was like, oh shit. And then we also saw like it was in kind of like a Japanese kind of like area, and then we saw a character, or we saw like one of the enemy archetypes had like a sword and shield, which was really interesting. And then finally we end the trailer off after some running, and the main character jumped into a car, and the car I thought looked a lot like a DeLorean.
I like the aesthetic a lot.
Interesting enough, I'm just going to throw this your way. The main character I think is actually just like a young girl, because Bright Memory Infinite on the thumbnail it's like a young girl with a katana.
Oh really?
So I have no idea who the studio that's making it is, but I will say the game looks good.
Yeah, visually it looks really good. Looks like it has a lot of cool physics and lighting and stuff, which is something that you hope for with next gen. I think like we're at this point now where we're going to see a lot of the small stuff and then the big stuff. I guess Ubisoft, and we'll get to that, but I think the reason that we're seeing the small stuff here is because a lot of the big stuff wanted to do their own shows. Okay, so then we have Dirt 5, which visually looks great. I mean, the lighting is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but like I still have to shit on it because Forza exists.
Yeah, it's
Forza already pushed like racing games, but like the visual appreciation for it like above and beyond, and like I don't really feel like I got anything crazy out of the Dirt trailer besides being like, oh fuck dude.
But yeah, no, I kind of agree. It's like, here's a car game, vroom vroom.
Car game go. Let's just honestly, I hate to say it, but let's skip Dirt at this point.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about.
It's just Dirt. Like if you know Dirt, you'll know Dirt. The next game, though, was the one that you had no idea what was going on, and I was able to remember it existed. And that was Scorn, that like cool H.R. Giger inspired sort of like weird flesh world game.
Yeah, it definitely was gross.
I need your opinion on this because I love the aesthetic. I think it's unsettlingly creepy.
I think if its goal is to be creepy, then it achieves it with flying colors.
What if I told you this game is also a shooter?
I don't know. I want to see gameplay.
There was like a snippet of alpha gameplay out there that I might have to show it to you sometime. Essentially, like even the weapons are like organic. So like the gun is like an organic thing on like the guy puts on his arm. Disgusting, but it's also like it's got this consistency that I think is really really cool.
Yeah, that
this trailer though sucks. I'm gonna be honest.
It's just an aesthetic trailer, an engine. I feel like that's what, I don't know, because some of the studios who we saw today like showed gameplay, like the first one, some of the other ones, but they said like all of it was gameplay, and I guess they now count in-engine as gameplay, which is, it's insane to me that they would count that. That's like showing a title screen and being like gameplay. So that was kind of disappointing.
It's a shame too, because I know Scorn was a game that there were plenty of people that were excited for. So I mean, you know what? Cool, it's coming to Xbox. I didn't even think the game was like far along in development because they don't talk about its development too much. But that's cool. Next up was I think it's Corvus.
So I kind of dug this one with like all the flying ships and dogfighting. I like space games. I like dogfighting. That's usually something up my alley.
They're super rare nowadays. They used to be pretty common, like around the Wing Commander and like Freelancer, all that stuff, like those games that people adored back then. And then you also had the Star Wars flight games back then too.
Yeah.
So you had like a nice mix back then, and we don't get those anymore. And I think that's why like I was also like pretty into it.
I think it looks Like graphically, it looks pretty solid. I like the angular design of a lot of the ships and their armor and stuff. It's very like
It's
it.
very modern.
Yeah, and like makes you think everything could just kind of cut you if you like, like everything's a blade.
Yeah, I like the aesthetic of the game too. Like just outside of that, I think the world looks cool. Like when they were showing us little snippets of the actual gameplay. Which, by the way, again, any game in this thing that actually showed us real gameplay and not just in-engine cutscenes made me way happy.
Props to those studios.
Yeah, the gameplay looks cool. I also like that ominous thing that they ended the trailer on with the whole like sky opening up and or the like space having that like almost red hole or that red black hole thing going on. It makes me interested because there's going to be something bigger at stake. And flight games so normally don't have a crazy amount of high stakes. It's usually like related on a more like interstellar empire level.
Yeah, for sure.
Like something related to that, except for Freelancer. Freelancer had a pretty big like thing going on by the end of its thing. Freelancer's a good game. Go play. Chorus looks good. That was one of the more pleasant surprises, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and then we had Madden. I'll just say this much: EA, good for you. Make your games. Okay, bye. like,
Yeah.
like
That's it. That's all.
It's another Madden, but it was followed up by probably a lot of people's highlight of the show.
A Masquerade 2.
Yeah, which looks interesting.
And someone who has seen a lot of Masquerade 1, and I just haven't gotten around to buying it and then modding it to make sure it's playable. By the way, yeah, Masquerade 1 is not a very playable game. It has a lot of problems without modding. But Masquerade 2 looks like they're trying to go for that aesthetic where they're really going to capture that over-the-top silly kind of like... Because Masquerade 1 had like some of that too. It was both silly and kind of serious when it needed to be. It was, you know, it was the quintessential, like, it tried to be an open world game featuring I believe, like, it's a board game normally, or like a creative, like a RPG kind of like. All right, well, basically, this game looks really good. I think it looks fantastic. I know it's been in a hubbub with people before. I forget what the whole, there was a controversy with it, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah.
The second marketing and stuff.
The only thing I had with it, and I know it's like the game's not finished yet, but a lot of the character models looked a little bit rough.
Yeah, it's funny. You can tell which ones look rough, and I'm pretty sure it's the more generic ones, which is funny because that's how the original Masquerade was. Generic NPCs had very bland designs, but then when you met like the unique characters, they tend to have a lot more like special sort of like design things going on. But you see the one lady that's Beast on the guy in the club. She's got like way more going on with her like character design. Man, I think that's just an aesthetic choice where they're going to make it seem like vampire characters are going to be much more unique to the rest of the world. Which, interesting enough, I find that like a cool. I like that, even though it's a good gameplay convenience. I like it from a like world standpoint because it makes you feel more special. I
did think that, once again, props to them for actually showing gameplay. The gameplay looked pretty cool. Kind of remind me of Dishonored a little bit, mixed with something like, I don't know, Dying Light.
Since you never play it, I think you'll like it. It's got melee combat, guns, and also you have magic. And magic is really cool.
Yeah, I'm always like a fan of like vampire stuff like that.
Basically combine like Dishonored, but like make it even more open world. And I think you'll like what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I'm trying to compare it to another game. Think of like a Mass Effect almost. Compare it like to. I don't like that comparison now because Mass Effect has been drugged through the dirt.
I was gonna say in Mass Effect's like, you know, it's sci-fi instead of like fantasy.
Yeah, think more like a modern sort of like vampire thing instead, and that's what you kind of get.
What was the next game? Oh, so yeah, this is the weird thing, right? Because like unlike Assassin's Creed, this showed like gameplay technically because they're like walking around in the world and stuff, but it still didn't show anything. It just showed. I mean, it looks great. Like this is one
world building, I guess.
I mean, it might be one of those games like What Remains of Edith Finch and stuff, like a walking simulator type game.
Every time you show me a walking simulator in a gameplay showcase, I'm going to point at you and be like, "This isn't real." You're not real.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked nice visually. You got some nice lush lands and
good art style.
There's not much really to say about it, but
they didn't really pull me. I didn't get interested till the end when they showcased that the main character's like hands had changed to fins, which I think indicates that there might be like a like undersea aquatic thing going on, which would make sense.
Like that could be kind of cool if it's like halfway through the game it becomes like this underwater whatever game, and Like it looks really cool and visually impressive. Like they could
Yeah.
make something cool that way.
Other than that, though, I don't think we have any real opinion on it.
It's hard to like really get a feel for something when all you're seeing is just the visuals. I mean, it looks good. I guess that's what I'll say. Neon Giants game. Oh yeah, so there's that top-down shooter. I actually thought this looked pretty good.
I saw chat booing it, and like everyone was like super anti it. I'm like thinking to myself, like, dude, oh, what? The thing I actually didn't think about, what if this is like a Diablo-like, but it's like sci-fi and shooting?
Just a quick update about the Ascent. You were mentioning it might be a Diablo-like game. It is confirmed to be one of those games. It's a
Yeah.
Diablo-like
Hype.
RPG.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's sweet. Ah, that makes me excited, actually. I'll probably buy it.
I think a lot of like the chat and stuff, a lot of people are mad because they went into this expecting a bunch of AAA titles like Activision and Bethesda and Cyberpunk and stuff. And I think expectations, because everyone is so bored right now, just got way out of control.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But
Microsoft was pretty clear that this isn't their big showcase. That comes later.
that's going to be in July, right? You said? Or June?
Yeah, July.
July, Jesus. 2 months. I thought Ascent looks good. I personally, depending on the price point, I'll be in to buy it. I need to know more about it. It's one of those situations where when you see like a top-down kind of like twin stick shooter kind of thing, that's what I got the vibe of it was.
Yeah, it makes me think of like the type of game that would be perfect for Game Pass.
I don't see anything on their thing about it.
Oh, maybe it isn't then.
A Game Pass game. Then again, for all we know, this game could warrant $60 depending on how much content they put into it. I mean, visually, the game is gorgeous.
I definitely thought it looked really nice. Lots of detail, like tons of detail. And then we had
this was the cool one that the cool like horror game that like I was into.
was it The Medium? Yeah, so this one very interesting, like from the trailer, I guess. We didn't really get any gameplay.
We got a bit in that little like mini thing they showed us afterward where she was walking around for a sec.
Oh yeah, so there's a little snippet there. But I think it looks kind of cool. It looks like you're going to be going between like two different worlds, like regular human world and then like this kind of hellscape or something.
Considering who they got to do their music, I clearly think they're trying to like they want to make their own Silent Hill because that's what this is. Silent Hill kind of does something similar where like there's sort of like a second world kind of thing that happens, and I got that vibe. I like the idea that it's called The Medium, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I think the main character might be a medium, and if that's the case, what a what a simple way to explain why she's able to interact with this like second world.
Yeah, that's actually kind of cool. When you think about it like that.
I think there could be some cool things here. Silent Hill is always like I don't want to call them the thinking mans. They kind of are at times with their story because it gets so weird. Yeah, this game looks cool. I like it the way it looks too. I think its visual style is good. I can't say anything else. Again, this is they showed so little that I don't know.
Yeah,
how to feel.
I think like there's promise there. And then the next game was the Bandai Namco one. So like that's another thing in this kind of showing. They definitely had a couple of Japanese games, which I think is smart by them because they're trying to kind of appeal a little bit more to the Japanese market and be like, hey, look at Xbox has Japanese games too. Because that's where they're like they sell nothing in Japan compared to something like a Sony or a Nintendo, which are Japanese companies, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, obviously not really my cup of tea, but it actually once again showed gameplay, so it gets a plus. And two,
It showed a fair amount too. Like I got a good idea of what's going on here.
And it looks like it could be pretty fun action wise, like with I like some telekinetic powers and stuff. Like I don't know if you've played Control, but Control is
no. But you kept telling me it was really good.
When a game lets you throw just junk around and do whatever you want with like your mind. That's like one of my favorite type of games. And I guess what matters, ironically, is how much control they give you. Like if it's just a cool effect that happens by pressing X or whatever, then it's like, oh, okay, this is fine. But if it's like you're in direct control of your telekinesis, like that's what I like.
I can't discern from this trailer if that's the case because it looked like it was just like an animation that played when you did something. But I will say, any game that's trying to be a Devil May Cry like, immediately I'm like, all right, that we don't get action games very often, so I'll take it. I will say the anime aesthetic characters, but then everything else is like vaguely not. I don't know how to feel. That's crazy, probably coming from me. But like The enemies don't look like something I'd be like, oh yeah, this is in an anime stylized game. However, telekinetic like powers aside and cool like mechanics that they do with it, I could have a lot of fun with the game. I think it looks fine. We'll have to see how it develops because Bandai Namco's been on this weird binge where they put out their own original titles by using other studios' help. I believe Code Vein was considered in-house, but it used a lot of the God Eater developer team. So I'm interested to see how this game turns out. Code Vein turned out not great. I think Code Vein's kind of bad. I mean, it's like a Dark Souls except anime. So if that tells you anything, so if this is a Devil May Cry but anime, all right. But that's all I gotta say on Scarlet Nexus. I think I want to see more.
Like, it's definitely not my type of game, but if it was like on Game Pass and something, or I could just try it kind of for free, like it might catch my eye. Like, could be if it's super fun. The next game is probably the game that I'm the most curious about. It's the dinosaur one.
You had a very hype reaction for it.
Whenever I see dinosaurs in a game, I'm like immediately interested. I think I can count on my hand with 2 fingers how many dinosaur games exist anymore. Horizon Zero Dawn is like one of the only ones I can think of, but they're robot dinosaurs.
Okay, what's the other one?
Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
I was gonna say, well, technically there's Ark.
Oh gosh, Ark doesn't count.
Ark sucks, so I'm not gonna. I said it. You suck, Ark developer.
Yeah, I can't even.
I don't like the developer. I think they're kind of scummy, but then again, I play fighting games, and our fighting game developers have been considered scummy before, so I guess I can't talk. But yeah, this game looks fun. I think it looks fun.
Like, it looked pretty visually good. You got a lot of blood, a lot of decent lighting. Except I will say the environments looked super bare bones. Like, there's just flat areas and then a bunch of dinosaurs running at you. So I hope that's.
I got the vibe that the whole point is it's not about the environment. It's about let's shoot dinosaurs.
Yeah, we'll see how good that can be, you know.
I think they need to talk more about it before you get super into it. But dinosaur games are very rare, so I see why you're excited. Not to mention, I got the feeling it might be a wave-based shooter.
Yeah, it's kind of like zombies but dinosaurs. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know. We'll have to see. Again, I might just be. It might actually be like a persistent world kind of thing where like you keep exploring and dinosaurs just keep attacking you. I don't know. That's the thing. From the environments, I don't know what kind of game it is still. Like, because they look so big and open, you know?
Yeah, the next game, another kind of... Oh, it's Yakuza. So that's nothing really new here. Like, this isn't a new game announcement. It's just big because Xbox having Yakuza on their show is kind of huge. One of the games I would see a lot of people who are big fans of like Japanese games point out that Xbox doesn't have is Yakuza, and now they're going to have it. So
the only thing that sucks is you're starting with one that has kind of like a black sheep kind of like...
Well, they already have, I think, a few of them are already on there. So this is just the one they're launching the new console with.
Yeah, again though, they're launching it with one that's considered a bit of a black sheep. Yakuza Like a Dragon is a turn-based game. I told this to you while we were watching it. It's turn-based, which is a very big departure. In fact, they showed gameplay on April Fools, and everyone thought it was an April Fool's joke, and then it wasn't. And then it turned out it's actually a turn-based RPG. And a lot of people were like, what? What have you done to Yakuza? And it's... I don't think it looks bad, but like if I'm going to play a Yakuza game, I'll probably play beat-em-up action. Notably, I don't think Like a Dragon is considered a super mainline game anymore. At least I don't think it's considered mainline. I don't think it's not Yakuza 7 as far as I'm concerned. I believe it's considered Yakuza like a side off. Like it has connections, I believe,
so
to some of the other characters. I can't tell you for sure. I'm not a Yakuza buff.
Finally, we can talk about this. Okay, so Ubisoft, ever since they revealed what the game was called, have been teasing the entire time that we're going to have gameplay. And at the beginning of the show, they were talking about gameplay. And at the end, we just got a in-engine CGI trailer. So, I don't know what Ubisoft is on, but that's not gameplay. And many people joined us to watch that. And how do you expect anyone's going to be happy when you literally were telling them gameplay the entire time? That was the biggest disappointment for me.
So in-game engine cutscenes do not count as gameplay. I mean, yes, it's impressive and it does make me happy, but usually you should show gameplay. I thought this was going to be a case where they were going to show us a bunch of in-engine cutscenes, and then they were going to have like a long like sit down for like about I don't know 5 to 10 minutes and show us real gameplay. I thought that's what was going to happen, and then it didn't. And then they talked to the developer about how great their combat was, and then I got pissed off.
Yeah, they didn't show any of it. Like the developer was talking about how like great combat is and how the progression system in the world, and they showed nothing. They just showed some.
There's something super lazy about that.
Do they not have anything ready to show at all?
I don't know, but like the moment that they pulled that out and they said that, I was like, why though? But why though? Ubisoft, like, and again, I was saying to you, I really hope that they don't throw this on Microsoft because it's not their fault.
No, they.
It's Ubisoft's. They're the ones who cleared what they were going to show. At the end of the day, all of these third-party developers get to say what they want to put in. Microsoft is merely the vehicle to show them. So every trailer here that was of a AAA game that showed, or of any game that only showed in-engine footage but not actual gameplay, it's on them for choosing not to show it something. It's definitely possible that Assassin's Creed can't show anything yet.
Yeah, well, that's my question, right? That's my question. Is Assassin's Creed unable? Is the gameplay just not ready? I mean, the game's supposed to come out in like what 5 months or less. So is the gameplay not ready to even show? Which that's kind of has me a little concerned. I mean, if you have to delay it, I get working from home is hard. There's a few things to consider when judging this kind of show. One thing I think that's important, like if you want to judge Microsoft's end, is to judge the format. And I think the format worked pretty well. You have a couple of people being like, hey, this is what the deal is. You show a bunch of trailers and then you end it. I'm okay with that format. So when it comes down to judging the content, I think that's more on the developer side. Another thing to consider is this is the first of a monthly series of shows leading up to the launch of the Xbox. So of course they're not going to blow their load on the first show, you know.
That's fair. I guess the only problem I have is that the third party developer, Ubisoft, that decided to showcase their big game said it was going to be gameplay, and then it wasn't. If anything, this is less bashing on the show as a whole and more bashing on how Ubisoft fucked up. Like, how did they do this?
I almost am at a loss for words. It blows my mind that they think that in-engine footage counts as gameplay. Otherwise, you could say we've seen Halo Infinite gameplay because the trailers we saw were in-engine footage. Like that's not the same thing, you know.
Well, I'd say we saw more because we saw from the perspective of Chief Pfizer. We didn't see anything here.
Well, it's. I hate it when they move the goalpost so that way they can do what it seems like less work. So they're like, oh, they're proud of themselves for showing gameplay, and they can tell the audience they showed gameplay when they didn't. Oh man.
All right. Let's stop being negative. Let's throw out what our favorite thing is
of the show. I thought the first game was the best looking one, the Bright Infinite. That I liked that game a lot. That looked good. Bloodlines looks good. The dinosaur game has my attention, and that Diablo game, The Ascent, looks like a lot of fun. And then also that horror game looks interesting. Like there's a lot of these games kind of caught my, I was like, oh, interesting. I like that there's a lot of new. I think that this is going to be maybe controversial, but I like that there's a lot of different types of games instead of just whatever Call of Duty. Yeah, like they were trying to show more types of games, and I appreciate that. I do think Yakuza, like I understand why it's there, but it's technically not like a new game or anything.
It also hasn't come out, I believe, in the West yet, so that's still like a thing though to remember is it's not even out in the West yet.
Yeah,
they are going to be getting it when it launches. So I don't know, it's a whole thing. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I got my eye caught more than I was like wowed. Except, my games were mostly. I'm not far off. I also thought the medium looked interesting. I like the Ascent. As you know, I just got even more excited after you told me that news that it is a Diablo-like. Bright Memory looks cool. I thought Scarlet Nexus was pretty neat. And then I think Masquerade was probably the favorite for me. I was like, that looks good.
Yeah.
I haven't played any open world like RPGs in a while that have made me want to play them, and that's one of them.
Yeah, so, I would agree that Masquerade is probably one of the highlights. I mean, so let's talk about kind of where we're going from here future-wise, like for Xbox just in general. I think this is a decent start, but they have a lot of ground to cover in the next few months. And the fact that they're not doing their first party to July, the rumor for June is Microsoft's going to be showing off the new Xbox, like the Series S, which is like the cheaper version, and then also talk about like their services and stuff. So like there's not really going to be any game reveals. I'm curious if the first party show in July also includes third party, or if they're just done with third party and all the third parties decided that they just want to do their own thing. I wonder about that. If Microsoft is like, okay, this is the third parties that wanted our help to kind of boost their visibility. Like a lot of these games, let's face it, if they showed a trailer on their own, they're not going to get as many eyes as if they showed a trailer of Microsoft's thing.
Oh, by the way, apparently we got the name wrong. It's not Chorvis, it's Chorus.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I can't tell when they do that shit with their weird letters. It looks like a V, dude.
So moving forward, there's some things to talk about in July, or sorry, in June. July is going to be the big thing, but they kind of have to wow people in July with their first party stuff.
I mean, you know what? Let's spitball. Let's end this off on some predictions. Then, what do you think is going to be shown off in July?
This is so obviously you have Halo, which honestly I think should get its own event. But
I 100% would love to see a new fighting game. I'd like to see them talk Killer Instinct again, because Killer Instinct is their third. I want to see a Rareware game as well. I guess those are my two big ones.
Yeah. So Rare is working on Everwild.
Right. That game looks interesting.
That could be interesting. I want to see what it is in terms of gameplay. Like, it looks like it could be a co-op Breath of the Wild type game, which could be cool if it's done well. I hope it has more content at launch than Sea of Thieves. And then also Hellblade 2. I want to see gameplay for Hellblade 2. I want to see like what that game looks like, because I think one of the games that's going to show how good looking their games are is going to be Hellblade 2, because Ninja Theory are very talented at making good looking games. I want titles so Obsidian's working on an RPG, like a brand new AAA RPG. I want the title for it. They don't have to show gameplay, just announce it. And then In Exile's also working on a AAA action RPG. I want a title for that. And then you have Fable, which is at this point gameplay better be shown for that. And then Double Fine, whatever they're working on, like they just kind of have to show everything. They have to say, to establish, they need a roadmap so people know there's stuff coming. And I understand the desire to hold things close to your chest, especially when you've had bad experiences with people like Scalebound and stuff, or Fable Legends, where you announce stuff too early and then it ends up getting canceled and then people hate you for it. So I understand the desire to avoid that, but you're about to launch a new console. You have to inspire confidence that new games are coming to it. And you do have Halo, which is great, and that's your launch title, but that's your launch title. You need to confirm what's coming next, you know? You need to have your Fable, you need to have your Obsidian game, you need to have your In Exile. I mean, there's Compulsion Games is another one of their studios. We have no idea what they're working on. There's a bunch of stuff yet to be announced, and I think they should just honestly be like, this is what we're making. Oh, there's also that studio they started in 2017, The Initiative. Like, what are they working on?
Yeah, that's literally the thing that you're like elucidating me on, is I forgot they had all these studios.
They have
are supposedly making something.
They have so many studios. At a certain point,
studios, so little time.
It takes time to make games, right? You can't just like make a game in a year. It's okay to announce it a couple years early, so that way people know that, you know, stuff is coming and they know the name.
You at least announce it exists. That's what I'm glad they did with Elden Ring last E3, where they were like, Elden Ring exists, and I'm like, oh dude, it's coming and we're never gonna see it, because I don't.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's not really my type of game. I know online especially, everyone just wants to see Elden Ring. But I'm curious, well, a lot of people also were like, oh, we want to see that Harry Potter game or whatever because WB, but WB is going to have their own show. A lot of these people, EA, they're going to have their own show. Ubisoft is going to have their own show. All of these places are going to have their own shows. That's kind of the way it is. And the big developers, Microsoft and Sony and stuff, they're going to have their own show for their first party stuff, and they'll show off a couple of third party games that don't really have the ability to have their own show. You know that CD Projekt Red is having their own show for Cyberpunk. June 11th, I think. The only studio that's not having their own show that I can think of is Bethesda. Bethesda said they aren't having their own show. So
maybe because they haven't fixed anything still.
Yeah, I think they just have nothing to announce.
Oh, well, you say that, but they could always show off. They could attempt to show off whatever games they're working on. There's like, 2? Starbound or whatever?
It's Starfield. Starfield.
By by the Terraria dev, I believe.
Starfield is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Who cares? That doesn't make good games anymore.
Yeah.
That is. I don't know. I don't have a lot of hype for this year, weirdly enough. Between the Rona and just like everything going on, you know what sucks? Every game being developed in this year is going to be hurt really bad because of this.
Yeah. I'm
I
curious.
think that's the big takeaway for me right now.
I guess for me, it's like I just want to play Cyberpunk. That's all I care about anymore. I want Halo Infinite news, and I realize I have to wait till July for that. And then Sony's gonna probably reveal the PlayStation 5 in June. That's what the rumor is right now. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. Yeah, there's not a whole lot right now to talk about. That being said, moving forward on the channel, we're gonna be having more gaming stuff. At least me and Sky will be talking about games more, news and stuff, and then who knows, we'll maybe come up with other stuff too.
I'll still be here. Still talk about games.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta do now for the summer, unless I get a job somehow.
Jobs. But yeah, so that sums it up. Thanks for watching, anybody who did. And yeah, we'll see you next time.